tatta dhimta takita dhimta dhimta tam.
My name is Padma Menon, and on this channel I share information and practices about ancient goddess traditions from my culture, which is India. And today I am really excited to share with you one of my favorite practices, and this is the practice of the crow. Yes, the simple, ordinary crow. And this practice is a really important practice in the tradition about coming into nonlinearity and timelessness, which is of course the essence of spiritual practice. Now, I won't say too much about the crow practice itself. I've got another video where I have talked about this, and I'll put a link in the detail section below, so I hope you will check that out and it'll give you a bit of a background to this practice. So the crow practice is about coming into that enlivening, the timelessness and the spaciousness that is so vital in a spiritual practice. Because we live in a time where we're so task-oriented, especially if you as women have a full schedule, you're going from one task to the other, and you may find sometimes there's a certain sort of blandness or deadness, and sometimes your spiritual practice may also be swept up in this task orientation and begin to feel a bit mechanical and a bit lifeless. So this simple crow practice is something that you can do just to come back into that space of refreshment of your spirit, refreshment of perception, a space of enlivening and timelessness. And you'll find that when you go back to your practice, or when you go back to the things you have to do, there is a kind of renewal of your spirit that will happen after this practice. So here is the crow practice. I'll step back so you can see my feet. So firstly, we always get in touch with our weight, because in this tradition the weight is the dynamic of presence in the body. So we get in touch with the weight by dropping into our feet. Soften the knees a little bit, and we drop into the feet. So we drop all our weight right from the top of our head, like sands in an hourglass, through our throat, our chest, and we just drop it all the way into the feet. And once we're there, we open the feet, we spread the feet, and we loosen up the hips. There is a beautiful practice called the pot practice, which really focuses on this element of dropping the weight into the lower body. I'll leave a link to that as well, so you can check that out too if you really want to focus on that, connecting with your weight. But for now, we loosen up the hips. So it's really important to be in touch with the weight. Your upper body is very soft. And now I'm going to invite you to imagine that you're in a ground where there's a lot of rubbish and scraps of food. That's where you find crows, of course. And like the crow, we're going to check this ground out and see whether we can find a morsel to eat, something useful amidst the scraps. So we are going to take what in the practice is called uneven steps. By that we mean that we can't walk in a straight line in a regular way, because there's no value and there's no possibility in this ground. So what we're interested in doing is meandering, wandering around, checking it out. Sometimes stepping over something. But keep that sensation of the weight, so that that movement experience, that sensation of that is informing your body through your weight. It's really important to keep connected with the weight and not go into the upper body. At the moment, we're just bringing all our attention, our consciousness, to that lower body movement. And we meander quite happily. we don't have a straight line to go. We don't have a goal that's in a straight line. We are more interested in just roaming around, wandering about, checking it out. Uneven steps and not in the same direction. So we take one step in one direction, the other step can be longer in a different direction. Doesn't have to be alternate legs either. It's important to keep that uneven steps practice, because our mind is so addicted to regularity. And that's linear. So it will always try and change the body to become regular, and hence that instruction of uneven steps. In different directions. And now we're going to bring the feeling component into it. In the goddess tradition, transformation happens through a combination of sensation, feeling, movement. So the archetype, like the crow here, always is the feeling component, because what it proposes is that change, transformation doesn't happen because of a thought. It comes from feeling. So now we put the crow in, and we bring the crow into our upper body. So the eyes first, and the crow, even though it's meandering below, it's very sharp with its eyes. It's sharp, the head, as it looks around. So I'll pause the feet for a minute, the lower body, still keep that weight down, and we just check the head. So the head, the gaze is sudden, it's light, it's sharp. You can use a frown to get that piercing quality of the eyes. Sometimes it stilts his head. And now we add the lower body and the upper body. And what you will find is that two different constellations are happening. There is a meandering sensation in the lower body, whereas the upper body is very present, sharp, purposeful. And this is the beauty of this practice, because what it's doing is it's not allowing your mind to get locked into a linear, defined way. So the mind is diffused between those two different experiences, and that's when it moves into expansive sensation rather than definition, thought, knowingness, which is what brings that sense of tiredness and blandness and deadness. So let's, for a minute or two, just be this crow. Sometimes I use the soundscape of crows, and that's beautiful if you don't have crows near where you're practicing. But I would suggest not using music, composed music as such, because then it will again drive you towards linearity, towards illustrating that music. It's important to keep that openness, the randomness, and that incredible sense of presence. Keep in touch with the weight. And sometimes you can pause. Doesn't have to be ongoing. There is no perfection here. It's not about the right way to do or master it so that you can control it. It's always going to feel a bit random, a bit chaotic, a bit messy, but it's okay. It's just being content, playful, like the crow, just wandering around simply. And when you've finished your practice, you come back to the weight and just for a couple of minutes, just holding that sensation, the rasa, which is it's called in this tradition. The rasa is like, literally means the taste, but it's the taste of that sensation. Just holding that. Keep that movement. The movement is the essence of consciousness, reality, just like nonlinearity. And just holding that, you can close your eyes for a few seconds. Breathe that in. Bring that up from the feet, through the hips, into the upper body, into your heart, into your chest, into your throat, behind your eyes, and just let it wash. Let that feeling just wash the upper body and refresh it, enliven it, renew it. And then you can move your fingers, just swing out those arms and release your legs. Release your ankles, softening and releasing the knees. And you can come out of it. So I do hope that you will find this practice helpful to you on those days and those times when you are feeling a sense of needing something to refresh your spirit, and just this yearning for a bit of senselessness, a bit of timelessness, a bit of chaos, a bit of randomness, and to be able to play with that. And that really takes your mind and your body away from this linearity, from the prison of linearity, which can really deaden the self that we bring to our life and to your other spiritual practices. So thank you so much for joining me in this practice. I look forward to your company on this channel again.